In the ancient African world, where the sun blazed fiercely over vast savannas and dense jungles, there was a village nestled deep within the heart of the Congo. This village, known as Witch of Mawenzi, was shrouded in mystery and fear, for it was said to be cursed by a powerful witch named Nyarai. Her name, which meant one who walks in shadows, who's whispered only in the darkest hours of the night, for even speaking it aloud was believed to summon her wrath. Nyarai was no ordinary, which she was said to have been born centuries ago during a time when the gods themselves walked the earth. Her mother, a healer, had been accused of consorting with dark spirits, and the villagers had burned her alive. But before she died, she cursed the village, vowing that her unborn child would return to exact vengeance. That child was Nyarai. From the moment she was born, Nyarai was different. Her eyes glowed like embers, and her cries sounded like the wailing of the dead. As she grew older, her powers became evident. She could summon storms with a flick of her wrist, and her voice could command the beasts of the forest. But it was her ability to manipulate the minds of men that made her truly terrifying. She could make them see things that weren't there, drive them to madness, or even turn them against their own families. The villagers of Mawenzi lived in constant fear of Nyarai. They wept offerings at the edge of the forest, gourds of palm wine, baskets of fruit, and even livestock hoping to appease her. But it was never enough. Every full moon, someone from the village would disappear. Sometimes it was a child, other times an elder. Their bodies were never found, but the villagers knew Nyarai had taken them. They said she used their blood in her rituals, their bones in her charms, and their souls to fuel her dark magic. One day, a young warrior named Leader Jabari Adi had decided he could no longer live in fear. He was brave and strong, but more importantly, he was clever. He had heard stories of a sacred amulet hidden deep in the jungle, said to be blessed by the gods themselves. It was the only thing that could protect someone from Nyarai's magic. Determined to save his village, Jabari set out on a perilous journey to find the amulet. The jungle was a place of nightmares. The trees seemed to close in around him, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to snatch him. The air was thick with the cries of unseen creatures, and the ground was littered with bones, reminders of those who had tried and failed to conquer the jungle. But Jabari pressed on, driven by his love for his people. After days of wandering, Jabari finally found the amulet. It was hidden in a cave, guarded by a massive serpent, its scales glistening like molten gold. Using his wits, Jabari outsmarted the serpent and claimed the amulet. But as he turned to leave, he heard a voice that chilled him to his core. "You think you can escape me, little warrior?" It was Nyarai. She emerged from the shadows, her eyes burning like twin suns. Her hair writhed like living snakes, and her skin was as pale as the moon. She raised her hand, and Jabari felt an invisible force grip him, lifting him off the ground. But then the amulet began to glow. A brilliant light erupted from it, forcing Nyarai to shield her eyes. The force holding Jabari vanished, and he fell to the ground. Seizing the opportunity, he lunged at Nyarai. Plunging a dagger into her heart, she let out a blood-curdling scream, and her body dissolved into a cloud of black smoke. Jabari returned to Mawenzi a hero. The villagers celebrated, believing they were finally free of Nyarai's curse. But as the years passed, strange things began to happen. Children would wake up screaming, claiming they had seen a woman with glowing eyes standing at the foot of their beds. Livestock would be found dead, their bodies drained of blood, and on the night of the full moon, the villagers could still hear Nyarai's laughter echoing through the jungle. Before the Jabari had defeated her, Nyarai was not truly gone, and she had become something more, a spirit, a force of nature, a curse that would haunt Mawenzi for generations to come, and so even to this day. The villagers of Mawenzi whisper her name only in the darkest hours of the night, for they know that Nyarai, the one who walks in shadows, is always watching.